All right, so now we have our basic mix set, but of course in most instances, no good mix is going to remain static for the entire length of the production. For instance, the guitar. While sitting at a good level earlier in the mix, by the time it gets to the guitar solo, perhaps things are a little too loud. Time for automation. Automation mode dims the waveform display and makes automated control moves visible. Let's see how this works. We're going to stop here. We're going to place the cursor right at the beginning of the guitar solo. Notice I've pre-selected the 3 guitar harmony channels in the mixer. And now by making a level adjustment on any of those 3 channels while in automation mode, I have written in an automation move on all 3 of those tracks at that position. Every time the cursor moves across this position, all 3 of those channels levels will be adjusted. I'm going to snap back to that position and bring it down a little lower. Notice all 3 are working together due to the temporary grouping action of the selected channels. In this manner, you can sweep through an entire mix, focusing on one element at a time if you so choose, creating the perfect balance on all channels at all moments. Now, this guitar solo sounds a little better. In fact, maybe I pulled it down a little too far. So let's hold up right here. Let me go back. I'm going to snap right back to that first change, quickly make a trimmed adjustment up, and I believe that should get our guitar in the proper perspective. Sounds good. Now, what about the end of this solo? Right in here where the guitar harmonies drop out, it seems like this single line guitar solo needs to come up a bit. Notice I clear the grouping action on the console, raise that single guitar line up at that point, and that should help us out. Now let me come back and look what my starting guitar volume was, because after I raised that up to that point, right near the end of that section, I'd like to put the guitar back in its original rhythm perspective. All right, now I'm thinking it's somewhere right about in here where I really want to drop the guitar level back down into the mix where it started. So it's simple adjustment and we're off. Now, this is such an exciting way to work. Don't forget, you're seeing me do volumes here, but EQ, gates, compressors, thresholds, frequencies, bypassed effects, all automatable in this manner. Okay, another thing I remember noticing when setting up the basic mix was the organ solo. Starts out nice and strong, but then we get into this chunk in here, and you can actually see the difference in level visually on the waveform display. So obviously we need to do something here. So I place my cursor at the weak section and simply raise the level. Simple as that. There's also a technology called slopes in SAWStudio that will allow these level changes to happen from instantaneously to a few seconds worth of fade time. You know, here's another section that needs to come up a little. That run is buried. So we're going to raise that up, and that should help. And now notice again, visual on the waveform, obviously we got this section here that's going to be a little too strong. What I'm going to do now is jump back real quick, look at my original setting, come right back to here, and let's bring that organ back where it was in the original mix. And you know, this just couldn't be any simpler in my opinion, and think of the power that's at your fingertips. All right, good. Let's go back and hear the whole organ solo from the beginning. You know, many people that have never mixed in this fashion try to tell me, you can't create the feel of a real mix like hands-on faders in this manner. And I totally disagree. I can create subtleties and nuances of every detail of a mix well beyond anything you could ever dream of with your hands-on physical faders, even with automated consoles. But you know, it's not about just replacing faders. It's about offering new creative expression. It's about enhancing your ability to handle complex mixes. Add an element like this, and your mixing can take on an entirely new level of expression. Okay, we're back at the top. Let's listen and see what might need adjusting up in the front here. Now, the guitar leads us in, but maybe it's getting a little too strong right in here. So maybe right after this guitar intro, we should drop it down into the mix a little bit. So I'm going to come up in here and find a good spot. Looks like it'd be right here in this hole. Now, see, here's an example of where a good visual cue. So seeing the waveform data while you're listening and making mixed decisions, the two working together can really enhance your ability. All right, I like that a little better. Very good. Okay, what else do we have to think about up in here? guitar okay in here? Yeah, I think that works fine for our little demonstration. Okay, we're out of automation. We're up. I think we're in pretty good shape. Let's listen right at the front again. I had something that I was hearing that Mike could enhance the mix, and that might be these little tom fills. This tom buildup that's happening here is kind of buried in the mix. Okay, so this might be nice to enhance. So let's go back to automation, and let me show you another little trick here that we have at our disposal. We can just mark an area, put the cursor in the middle, and make one adjustment. And Saw will automatically make the adjustment at the end of the marked area back to where it started. So, making one move, let me bring that a little higher, in the marked area makes 2 moves for us in all. There we have it. The toms coming up a little louder and then setting themselves back where they started. You know, I just get so excited about this technology. I mean, expand the simplicity of what I'm demonstrating here to a 30 or 40 track complex session. I mean, look at the powers that are at your fingertips to truly enhance your mixing experience. Okay. Enough of that. Let's move on here. Actually, we're going to wrap this up now. We're going to do one last thing. Come down here to the end of the session. And we're going to make the final adjustment, writing in the perfect fade out. Okay, there's nothing more hard to me than working in a manual mixing environment, doing all the choreographed moves perfectly, and then getting to the end and blowing the fade. Well, that can't happen in this environment. You simply come down, change to the output tracks. Now, our mix is fixed no matter what we do here. We come to the output track, we mark an area. In fact, let me see how far I can extend this fade. I'll go back to the inputs for a second. I can extend the fade right to the edge of my data. Come on back to the output. Now we have a marked area on the output track, which is controlling all tracks. Go to automation, hit the F key. You have the perfect fade. Analog, silk smooth, flawless. You know, you can stretch this if it's too short. You can shrink it if it's too long. You can delete it and start over. You didn't blow the original mix by blowing the fade. You have total freedom. It's a great way to work. Okay, back to the beginning. And it's time to build the final mix. So let me do one little last bit of trimming here in the front of the guitar. Okay, that's good. I'm going to mark that as the beginning point. We're going to jump to the end and find our end point. And this range that we're marking is what the build mix routine will utilize. So you can build a portion of the mix or the whole project. Now, the exciting thing about the build mix process here is we're staying in the digital domain. We're staying in the virtual realm. We are not outputting our data to 2 tracks or DATs to otherwise change what we've been creating. This all stays perfect in the digital domain. We come here to the process mixdown, build mix to new sound file. We get our dialog box that allows us to change file names, output multiple files for surround projects, so forth. We can change the rate, the resolution. We say OK, and we're building. We're sitting here building faster than real time. Now, this demonstration is about 1/3 real time. Even if your project can't play back. If your project is so complex that your machine won't play back, you can always get a perfect mix out of it by using this rendering process. This has no bearing on real-time playback performance. Another beautiful thing about this concept, when you render these mixes and you work this way completely in the virtual environment, nothing ever changes until you change it. So I can open this mix project up a week from now, and the entire thing, down to the reverb trails, is identical to what it was when I did. I can make a change, make a new mix, and we're ready to go. Here's our final output. Sounds great. We can jump through live, hear the whole project, come to the ending. Mixing in the virtual realm, I'm telling you, there is nothing like it. Thank you very much. That completes this portion of the demonstration. I hope to see you in the SAW family soon.